Hello, everybody. Back again today with the continuation of our series of classic album song ranking here with my partner, Sam St. John. We've been doing this, I think we have 12 or 13 in the bank already, and glad to be joined today by JC, Josh, Flipside Vinyl. Always a pleasure. We did a previous album with Josh of Tom Petty's Damn the Torpedoes. That was one of the best ones we've done, so glad to have him back again. And Josh just held up what we're doing today. It's Born to Run, ladies and gentlemen. 1975, Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band. Everybody's got copies of it. Fantastic album. One of my favorites of all time. Glad to finally getting around to this. This is one of these albums that growing up in the 70s, I was aware of Bruce Springsteen's first two albums. They were not commercial hits, critically acclaimed. They didn't sell a lot of records, a little bit sparingly played on the radio. And then Born to Run comes out, and it's just an absolute monster. It put him on the map. He was up against it. I think, it was either put up or shut up time with the record company. And this was the one that was going to make or break him. And thank God he was able to go on and have amazing success after that. And just a fantastic record. Bruce talking about what he knows, the life he knows, on the streets, on the Jersey Shore, working class people, the character studies, the little vignettes that he play out in his music. They've got the great band behind him as well. So glad to be doing this. There's only 8 songs on the album, so we're gonna rank this. This should be a relatively short video. Guys, thank you very much for coming on today. Josh, great to have you back. What's your recollections of first time maybe you heard the album and what you think of it? How's it stand up? That type of thing.
Excellent. Well, I mean, I grew up with this album. It was constantly played at every family party I can remember. I grew up with all my aunts and uncles were huge Springsteen fans, enormous. So some of my earliest memories are the river, going to parties and hearing that album and hearing Nebraska and hearing Born to Run and all of these albums. And they were so fanatical, my aunts and uncles, that they played whole entire albums. We go to parties and we hear the entire Springsteen album. So, but where it really changed for me was, and I've told this story before, so I'll tell it quickly. It was one day on the way to college. At Thunder Road, an acoustic version came on the radio, and I listened to the lyrics. And the lyrics really resonated with me. I graduated at 17 years old. So I was 17 years old. And the lyrics of Thunder Road and the idea of finding someone that believed in you and would take a chance, and just the hopeless romanticness of Springsteen's lyrics. What's fantastic about this album is it was make or break.
Yeah.
He felt he was going to get dropped from the record label. He put everything into this album, and it's just a masterpiece. No words can sum up how much I love this album, and it's not even my favorite Springsteen.
And that says a lot. That says a lot. Because he's got the thing about Bruce. I mean, he changes with each album. The first album is kind of a wordplay, kind of folky little album. The second one, more R&B. The band takes center stage. He's still doing the little vignettes and the storylines, and then this is like a combination of everything. Then he gets into the dark material later on with Darkness on the Edge of Town, more, intensity in some of the songs. And then the river, again, the band comes back full time. And then he really gets deep with Nebraska and Tunnel of Love later with the breakup of a marriage. So you follow his life as he's going along. That's a true artist. He's talking about what's going on with himself and the people around him at the time. And, I just can't say enough glowing things about his writing ability and the musicianship involved, the production, everything's first rate. So Sam, how about your end of it? Because you're a little younger than us. How do you feel about Bruce and this album in particular?
Well, I should say that I can thank Mr. Strickler for giving me a copy of this album on CD. He VCLT'd it to me, I don't know, probably earlier this year. And actually, I think Rob from Obscure Music also VCLT'd it the same week. So I got this album twice.
That's right.
In 1 week, because I had a series that I'm hoping to get back into where I talked about classic albums that I don't own, that I've never owned on any format, just for whatever reason whether it's an album like, like the Boston album that we were talking about earlier before we started going live. An album like that you just know it backwards and forwards, but you just never pick it up. Or, an album like Rumors that I just recently bought, a copy of, or that I was VCLT from, I think Rich as well. But Bruce is one of those where, I would go through phases of really getting into Bruce, and then I would vanish from Bruce, and then I would go back to Bruce. So, obviously my first Bruce album was Born in the USA. My dad bought it for me when I was in late middle school, like 8th grade, something like that. And I played that album to death. And, then I would turn around and buy like a brand new album, like Wrecking Ball, when it first came out. So I really got into Wrecking Ball a lot. I love the folky nature of it. I love like the Irish kind of punk sounds that came out of that album. So, I mean, I've always loved Bruce. I had the greatest hits and all that good stuff. And then listening on YouTube to live songs, like I know a song that really stood out to me early on, like a deeper cut, as so to speak, was a song called Rosalita, which I fell in love with that song, Rosalita, loved it to death. And then, listening to classic rock radio in middle school, you had songs on here like, Born to Run, Thunder Road, and then hearing live tracks like, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. Growing up, I didn't know that they were all, the same album. And then, I get this album from Rich, and I'm like, oh, well, these are all on the same album. So it is a classic, only 8 songs, clocks in at less than 40 minutes, but it's just, just power rock that, kind of shakes it to the core. Bruce starting to hit that first peak of his. He would hit several peaks in his career, with Born in the USA. Even Nebraska, to an extent, I would consider a peak of his. So it's a fantastic album. I've really enjoyed listening to it a couple of times this week to prepare for this ranking.
So Sam,
I'm
sorry to interrupt. Finish.
No, I'm just saying I'm excited to see how we all line up.
So
But go ahead.
You have not listened to Springsteen's entire discography, just so I know.
No, I don't own. I've got Darkness, and these are all on CD. I've got Darkness, Born in the USA. I love, one of my favorite Bruce albums is Western Stars. Nice. I love that because I love that whole Jimmy Webb, Glenn Campbell sound with that. I think that, to me, that's a modern masterpiece, is Western Stars.
That's Brandon's favorite too, Mr. Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah, you guys should do a ranking that with him. Nice. I'll tell you this, I envy you, because Springsteen's got so many great songs, and when you hear like songs like Lost in the Flood that are gonna blow your mind, to be able to go back to the first time I heard those songs and getting the chills. Like I remember the first time I heard Candy's Room and the hair stood up on my arm. I will tell you, seek out the live versions first. I mean, I think Springsteen really live is how he should be heard. But I will tell you something interesting is that unfortunately my wife had a miscarriage, but it was going to be a girl and her name was going to be Rosalita. That's how much I love that song of Springsteen. So yeah, I mean, I'm so excited that you're getting into him. I could talk all day about
He's
how
great.
great he is.
He really is. And I did try to get tickets for the upcoming tour, and I was trying to go with my sister, and there was nowhere where they were really 2 seats apart. Other than behind the stage, it was the only place that they had 2 seats that were together. Everywhere else, it was 2 seats apart. Yeah. Unless you went, the big bucks down on the floor, which I didn't want to do. Yeah. But yeah, he's great. I love him.
Awesome.
All right, let's get into this. I'm anxious to see how both of you guys rank these songs. And what we usually do is go in reverse order, of course. Josh will go first, then Sam, then myself. And at the end, we'll give the album an overall ranking on 1 to 10. So Josh, kick it off. What do you have in the number 8 position here, which is no slouch. It's just someone's got to rank 8th.
I mean, every song's a masterpiece, and this was very easy for me to do. Like, I mean, extremely easy. I will tell you that the first 5 easily could be my number 1. That's the only difficult part. But number 8 is going to be Backstreets, which I absolutely love. I think it's a great song. I love the piano intro. I think the reason why it's number 8 is because it is similar to other Springsteen songs that I think is better. You know, that being said, it's hard to I can't say anything negative about it. It's just awesome, but it is my 8 song.
Wow.
I'm a little surprised, but I appreciate your honesty, and that's how you feel. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Sam, what do you have for us? 8.
Well, again, I've never up until earlier this year, I've never listened to this album all the way through, as you know, in sync with all the songs. But for me, number 8 is the song "She's the One," which for me, out of all the tracks, might be the most dated, which I don't like to use the word dated. I think simply because of that intro with, you know, how it sounds with kind of the synthy kind of piano sound was the thing that kind of pushed it to number 8 for me. You know, great lyrics about, you know, a lot of sexual innuendo to the song.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a classic Bruce song with, you know, Bruce kind of goes into like that whole stream of consciousness sound. And those early albums like Dylan, you know, I don't like to compare the two because they're not the same at all. But they can both fit a lot of lyrics into a short amount of time. And Springsteen's a master at that. So number 8 for me was "She's the One."
Yeah, and Bruce really fit a lot of lyrics into his music on that first album. That first album of his is more of a wordplay album where he's just going free flow a little bit in some of those lyrics, but enjoyable nonetheless. My number 8 is the song "Night." This is the one that just isn't at the same level for me as the other 7 on the album, to be honest. I would rank the other 7 as perfect 10s. This one's a little bit below that for me. I like the message a little bit. He's getting into the working class lifestyle, relatable material to most people out there, being trapped maybe in a mundane job during the day and then getting out at night and being out with your friends, running the streets, escaping the mundane, the boredom of being stuck in a job maybe you don't like. Musically, it's the least interesting song on the album for me. I that's just my take. To me, it reminds me a lot of the Eddie and the Cruisers soundtrack, which was a Bruce Springsteen ripoff back in the day of John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. That Night would be a song that they could do very easily, in my opinion. It's never a go-to song. In fact, if I were playing this album, I might even skip Night. I hate to say that because I don't like ruining the flow of the album, but it's just the least effective song for me. And you guys might have it higher. We'll find out. All right, let's go to number 7.
My number 7's "Night."
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. That and Backstreets are very close to me. Like I said, everything else was pretty easy. It's still a great song. I love the sax intro, the saxophone, and you know, at the beginning of that song. You know, I do think Eddie and the Cruisers definitely ripped it off.
Yeah, it does sound
John and the Beaver Brown Band. But yeah, everything you said was perfect.
cool. What do you got at 7, Sam?
Yeah, I've got it just a little bit higher. For me, number 7 is "Meeting Across the River." The second to last track on the album. You've got that jazzy kind of intro. With Clarence on the sax. And again, I guess we should just talk for a quick minute. The cover of this is just so great.
It is.
Of the album. It really shows that brotherhood that Clarence and Bruce have together. Just a brilliant album cover. And
yeah, the way he's leaning on his shoulder there, it shows how tight they were, and you know.
Yeah, and I mean, Clarence is all over this record. And this is no exception. It's kind of got that jazziness to it, but I don't know. For me, it might be just because the whole album is so gutsy. So it's just a, I don't know, like pure rock and roll. And this song is kind of ballady, which for me doesn't fully fit. But I mean, you have to have a ballad on an album.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I like it a little bit more than you do, and I know Josh is going to like it more than you do because I've heard him talk about this one before.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great one. My number 7 is
it's my number 7.
Yeah. I think we're breaking up.
Yeah.
Say
What was
that
it?
again.
Cut out.
You're good now.
All right. My number 7 is She's the One, which again, I really love. It does have that wall of sound, Phil Spector thing to it. It's kind of bombastic in a way. With her killer graces, you know, it's about a girl. You know she's not right for you, but you can't help yourself. You're obsessed, you're attracted to maybe the wrong kind, and she's going to leave you broken in the end. That's what I get out of the song. I just want to read the first stanza of lyrics here, if I can. And this just shows Bruce's writing ability. With her killer graces and her secret spaces that no boy can fill, with her hands on her hips, oh, and that smile on her lips because she knows that it kills me. With her soft French cream standing in that doorway like a dream, I wish she'd just leave me alone, because French cream won't soften them boots and French kisses will not break that heart of stone. With her long hair falling and her eyes that shine like the midnight sun, oh, she's the one. And it just goes on from there. And there's a lot to like in the song. But again, I go back to that wall of sound. It seems like he's throwing a lot of production into this particular record, particular song, I should say. And it works for me. Just not at the level of some of the higher tiered songs. That's about all I got.
So the first thing I'd like to say before I do my pick about the cover is, Sam, is back then to have a interracial, on a cover was not heard of, it wasn't. So Springsteen was making a statement, letting people know, hey, that's why he's the boss. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah. All right. So my next one is She's the One also. And Sam, you really need to hear that song live, because I think, I respect your opinion completely, but that is a badass song. And when I wrote down that same lyric, with her hands on her hips and the smile on her lips. Yeah. It's like, man, I love what you said about like being broken. I think we've all dated a woman like that, where we're like, we know this is going to leave some scars, but you can't stop it.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit, is that a great song? That's just a great song. Oh man, Sam, if I was rich, I'd buy Springsteen tickets and take you to a show and beg Springsteen to play the damn song. We need to convert this man to realize how great She's the One is. All right, that's it. She's the One. That's my next pick.
I'll spin it when we're done.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, go find the live version. Do it.
I'll back up Josh on that. There are a lot of songs that I love that when you hear them live, just another level. I mean, we ranked not to go on another artist, but for example, Van Morrison with Caravan, the song Caravan.
Yeah,
right. That song, when I rank Moondance, is much lower than if I was to rank the live version. The live version would make it a #1 song. So again, but not being a full-on Springsteen fan, I don't know a lot of the ins and outs, like the live ins and outs. But I do need to check him out, because he is much his live stuff is just next level.
It is, and he sings in different keys. He will emphasize certain words. If Springsteen's got he's got a live box set 74 to 85. Check that out. But if you get the chance, go to his website where he sells complete concerts and pick one from the Ghost of Tom Joad tour. Pick one from Devils and Dust. Pick one. They're very inexpensive, and just hear how he'll sing the song completely different. Yeah, I totally recommend it. But yeah, so awesome.
Will do.
All right. What are we at, 6? Yep.
Number 6.
Sam's up.
I'm gonna go. I think it's been mentioned already. The song Night. Again, another song that Clarence is all over. That intro is pure Bruce and the E Street Band. I mean, it's just, you can tell immediately that song could be an instrumental and you would know what band it was. No question. Yeah. That's what's so great about the E Street Band. And I'm so glad that's why they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a separate entity, because again, you take Bruce out, they could tear a place apart even without Bruce. But a line that really stood out to me when re-listening to the album was and it's one that you can relate, that I can relate to, is just it's the simple, you're just a prisoner of your dreams. That line is, I mean, it's so, it encompasses the common person. Like, you know, we all have dreams, and we tell ourselves, you know, we'll never reach that point. That'll never come true. And Bruce was that guy. I mean, Bruce lived in that community with, you know, his aunts and uncles, and his family were all in that same little area. Because I have read his book, the Born to Run book, and it's just incredible where he came from, and how, you know, he'd get in the back of a truck and head towards stardom, and, you know, he would look back on his roots, but he was like, you know, I know that there's something else for me. And that line for me, it just encompasses Bruce. And maybe the reason that it's lower for me, and again, it's only an album with 8 songs, is the melody of the chorus is one that sticks with me as a hook.
I agree.
But otherwise, I mean, it's classic Bruce lyrics. And again, that sax solo, I mean, how can you beat it?
Yep. All right. My number 6 is Meeting Across the River. I would love to put it higher, but I can't justify it with the other 5 songs. I love it. It's quiet, it's intimate, it's dark. It's a gem of a song. And it reminds me a lot of these film noir movies from the 40s, where you got these small time gangsters or hoods, losers, people in over their head. They owe people money. And Bruce is painting that little portrait here. I just want to read a couple lyrics again. It's got a great trumpet in it as well. It sets a tone, jazzy. And the characters, hey, Eddie, can you lend me a few bucks? Can you get us a ride? Got to make it through the tunnel. Got a meeting with the man on the other side. We got to stay cool tonight, Eddie, because we got to get ourselves out of that line. And if we blow this one, they ain't going to be just looking for me this time. We all got to do, all we have to do is hold up our end, stuff this in your pocket, and look like you're carrying a friend, trying to be a tough guy. And remember, just don't smile. Change your shirt, because tonight we got style. And you can see these guys are trying to put on maybe a different appearance for the big wigs on the other side, the meeting. And it paints pictures, tells stories. That's what great songs do. Very cinematic in a small scale. And it's a great song. Leave it at that.
Yeah, my next one is Meeting Across the River also. And you're absolutely right. You know, I'm a huge Lana Del Rey fan. And the reason why is her songs are very cinematic. And Springsteen has come out and talked about Lana Del Rey and how he loves her songs. I can see why, because it's a lot like this. Yeah. You could see if Lana has to be inspired by Springsteen. In her song American, she calls him the king, you know. And it's songs like this where it's like jazzy and the lyrics are so fantastic. My favorite lyric is when he says, I wrote it down, Sherry says she's going to walk because she found I took her radio and hawked it. You know, it's like he paints such a vivid picture. Like, these guys are getting ready for a very dangerous meeting. You know, they're in New Jersey. They're going across to New York. They're probably going to meet with the mob or at some level of the mob, right? And you know, he's saying, like, I'm going to take that money. I'm going to throw it on the bed. You know, it's like they're thinking about what they're going to do once the job is done. But at the same time, you could tell there's a level of fear. You know, I remember, you know, 1993, laying in my bed with headphones, obsessed with this song and the lyrics and painting the picture in my head. And I could picture the characters in my head. Yeah. And Springsteen's such a great storyteller. I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's like on any other album, you know, it would be like, wow, this is one of the best written songs, you know. And because this album is full of so many hits, it's like this baby, this gem, there's no way he could have left this song off the album. No, I mean, everyone else would have been like, you're crazy. Like, this is a masterpiece. And it's songs like this is why he's considered one of the greatest lyricists of all time. You know, people always say Bob Dylan's better. They're always going to say Tom Waits is better. But Springsteen was able to do it and also do it in a way that it was extremely popular. Like, you know, like he crossed over to the pop genre, you know, like in a way that no one had done before. Maybe Dylan did it in the 60s, right? But in the 80s, when music was Madonna and Prince and this very polished sound, he was able to cross over into that. So I don't think he gets enough credit. You know, his lyrics have never wavered. Even his biggest pop song, Dancing in the Dark, was still a brilliantly written song. So yeah, and this is just one of those examples. I think it's one of his best written songs.
I agree. I love it. And it's a good transition too, because you've got a lot of these, you know, these rocking tunes, and then you got to break it up with this. And again, he's staying with the themes and the motif of the people he's writing about, and it works perfectly at the right time of the album, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yep. Number 5 for Sam.
All right, Tom. The top. It's hard to rank a top 5.
It is
with an album of only 8 songs.
Definitely.
Because any of these at this point are going to make somebody mad, and I think I'm going to make both of y'all mad here in a second.
You couldn't be mad, brother.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I'll take that. With that being said, number 5 for me is the closing track, Jungle Land.
Woo!
Just made me mad. You just made me mad.
I know people, the high regards. I've heard Rich talk about this. I've heard Josh talk about it. I've heard Glenn KELLAWAY has talked about this, the song Jungle Land. Many people consider it top 10 Bruce songs of all time. I know it's like one of those staples live where, like, you know, you have to see him do Jungle Land live, and you know, it's one of those epic songs, cinematic, like Josh was talking about earlier, you know, over 10 minutes long. And it's a great song, and especially for me because I grew up in a very small town. The whole line about meeting underneath the Exxon sign, which brings this fair city light, that is a great line because it captures small town America so well. You know, you have these places like, you know, New York, Philadelphia, like where Rich is. You have all these lights, you know, everywhere, burning bright. You go to these little small back road towns, the Exxon sign is the place. Go down there, hang out, buy your Cokes, you know, sit outside, you know, the kids are out smoking cigarettes out back, whatever it is. That's what that line said. I mean, it paints so much in just such a short few words.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a brilliant song. And I think it's one of those songs, you know, if we do this video again next year, and I've listened to this album a lot more, I can definitely see it moving to the number 2, number 1 spot. Easy. I think, I mean, it's a pretty near perfect song. That's what I have to say about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. My number 5, I might make one of you guys or both of you upset on this. It's 10th Avenue Freeze Out, which again, I love. It's the story of the formation of the band, Bad Scooter, the big man, Bad Scooter being Bruce, the big man being Clarence. Such a fun song. This is one you have to hear live too, because they bring that extra oomph with the interplay of the guys on stage and just the emphasis on certain words, and it to show how much fun and electricity there is. At the end here, it says, when the change was made uptown and the big man joined the band, from the coastline to the city, all the little pretties raised their hands. I'm going to sit back right easy and laugh when the scooter and the big man bust the city in half. 10th Avenue Freeze Out. Just a fun, sing-along, entertaining piece that you can watch and see these guys having fun on stage. And it works in the context of the album as well. It tells you, you know, how they got together a little bit if you read between the lines, and just how much fun they're having being together and making music together. So it's going to be my number 5.
Wow.
Excellent. Like I said earlier, all of these could be number 1. My number 4 is going to be Born to Run. I think it's a masterpiece of the song. It's a great song. My favorite line is, it's a real death trap. It's a suicide rap. We got to get out. You know, it's like, I remember that feeling of I've got to get out. There's more to this world than what I'm seeing. Like, I had fantastic parents, but I couldn't wait to move out of the house. I just couldn't wait to be on my own, to experience life. And I think that Born to Run will always speak to the youth of America, the world. It's like anyone that's felt that need to, like, boom, and experience the world. You know, it's a masterpiece, and it's one of his best songs, and it's my number 4.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Number 4 for me, you had it a little bit lower, was Backstreets. I love his vocal, and the chorus is just, it's just top of the line. It's funny because one of the things I was shocked about when reading the book, and it's been a few years since I've read the book, was that, and he's said it in interviews too, is that he's never considered himself a really great vocalist, which is just nonsense. I mean, he's got one of the greatest rock voices of all time. I mean, it's a better voice than, you know, guys like Mellencamp, than Dylan, than obviously Waits. And he's always thrown in with those guys, but he's got the best voice out of any of them. And I mean, just a great range in it. But to me, I think one of the things that makes it stick out for me, being a Dylan guy, is that organ sounds so much like Positively 4th Street by Bob Dylan. I love how it sounds in the song. It's just, it's showing that, you know, Bruce is taking his influences and bringing them into a song. One of my lines that stood out to me was where he says, "On the beach at Stockton's Wing, where desperate lovers part, we sat with the last of the Duke Street Kings huddled in our cars." That's just great. You know, they go to, like, you know, he's out with his girl. They go out, they're listening to some tunes, doing what teenagers do out on the cliff, you know, and just fantastic vocals, fantastic music. I was surprised I put it as high as I did, but the vocals really put it to a next level for me.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. It's my number 4 also. And a lot of it does have to do with the vocals. Bruce is singing with pain and emotion in his voice. There's like a broken friendship here, that maybe a girl stole a guy away. I'm not sure. The great piano opening as well. Just a poetic masterpiece. It begins with, "One soft and festive summer, me and Terry became friends, trying in vain to breathe the fire we were born in. Catching rides to the outskirts, tying faith between our teeth, sleeping in that old abandoned beach house and getting wasted in the heat, hiding on the back streets." I mean, that paints everything you want to know about friendship and the bond and doing things together and that type of thing. And then at the end, maybe things fall apart. It says, "Blame it on the lies that killed us. Blame it on the truth that ran us down. You can blame it on me, Terry. It don't matter to me now. When the breakdown hit at midnight and there was nothing left to say, I hated him and I hated you when you went away." So things don't hold up. This broken friendship, the pain in his voice and the emotion, just when he's singing that, "On the back streets," he's screaming.
Yeah.
On the back street, he emphasizes that, and it does it over and over again. And, you know, you got the musicians in the background doing their thing. It's just a fantastic song. I think at one time it might have been a little bit higher, actually, and I went with the 3 gems ahead of it, but it's number 4 for me, and I love it as pretty much as the top 3. It's a great song, really is, as all of these are.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry I ranked it so low. I mean, I do love it.
I know you do.
Yeah. All right. So my number 3 is just, you know, as you eloquently said, it's probably one of the funnest songs of all time, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. And Sam, when you finally get to see him live and you see the joy, I wish you could see Clarence, you know, but the joy of the band playing this song live. There's a great version, a 22-minute version on Live in New York, which I totally recommend listening to. And, you know, the thing is, like, he wanted to make a statement. Like, Born to Run was a hit before this album came out. They had released it because this album was taking so long. And then once the album came out, they released Thunder Road, but Thunder Road was the first song on the album. And then they hit you with 10th Avenue Freeze Out. It's like, what a fantastic song. And just as Rich said, that line, you know, with Scooter and the big man bust the city in half, you know, they made that change uptown and the big man joined the band. It was like Springsteen knew he had the band. He knew he had the songs. Like, even though he's had a lot of self-doubt, like, this was a statement and he took over the world. And just so fantastic. I love it. And 10th Avenue Freeze Out. Number 3.
Great song. Absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, number 3 for me is the opening track, Thunder Road. I mean, killer opener. I love the harmonica.
Yeah.
It's setting that scene. It's, you know, it's like the doors are opening and you're seeing that movie start. That piano plays because you know, it starts out real slow and then that piano comes in and do 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 do. It's just so good how it picks up from, you know, oh, is the song they starting with a ballad? And they said no, they're picking it up here. And the whole line he says, Roy Orbison singing for the lonely, hey, that's me and I want you only. Don't turn me home again. I just can't face myself alone again. I mean, that's youth right there. I mean, he's thinking back to his childhood in the 50s, singing, listening to Roy Orbison. He said, wait a minute, I'm the lonely. You know, I'm relating to this song that I listened to as a kid. I don't want to go home again. I don't want to be alone in my room with my thoughts. You know, let me get out there. Let me get on Thunder Road. It's just such a well-written song. Again, that piano at the beginning just makes it. And it's just one of those classic rock opening songs that, you know, sets a stage for an album, and it sets the whole mood of the album. It really does. Kind of like Josh was saying earlier with that going into 10th Avenue, it's just, you can't beat it. That's a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah, it does set the mood. And a lot of the themes from that song follow onto my next song, which is the title track, Born to Run is my number 3. It's the centerpiece of the album. I heard it took 14 months for them to record the album as a whole, and 6 of those months were on this one song, Born to Run. They had to get it right, and they did. I mean, the themes are there, the characters, the imagery, escapism, it's romantic, it's about growing up, optimism, desire for whatever's out there that you want, what life offers, getting out of Dodge, that all those things are here. The passion in Bruce's voice as well. The band is just jamming. I mean, the guitars sound a little bit like a motor running when he's ready to get out of town. And the way they arrange that is phenomenal. Just want to read a couple of lyrics here, where again you can see the imagery and leaving what's behind. The amusement park rises bold and stark. Kids are huddled on the beach in a mist. Great writing. I want to die with you on the street tonight in an everlasting kiss. And then the cars come in. And he goes, right. A lot of those. And then he really ups the ante. The highways jam with broken heroes on a last chance power drive. Everybody's out on the run tonight. There's no place left to hide. Together, Wendy, we can live with the sadness. I'll love you with all the madness in my soul. Someday, girl, I don't know when, we're going to get to that place where we really want to go, and we'll walk in the sun. But till then, tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. You can't write a better song than that, folks. I'm sorry. You can't. And I'll put Dylan, Waits, Joni Mitchell, all the great ones, Paul Simon. They're all wonderful, phenomenal, but Bruce matches them with just those lyrics right there. And I stand by that. It's just a great song. And what's even greater is he's got 2 on this album that I like even better than that. And they're coming up. All right, we're down to number 2.
It makes me so happy talking about Springsteen. I'm going to tell you the truth, guys. I'm loving this. So my number 2, Jungle Land. You know, what a perfect song in every single way. I mean, I'll tell you, Sam, that when we were younger and we were driving around, just cruising around, if Jungle Land came on, it didn't matter if I got to the destination. I was staying in the car until that song was over. You know, it's just a perfect song. You know, that line, the streets on fire in a real death waltz, like the way he paints this picture is just so fantastic. I remember the first time I saw Springsteen, you know, I turned around to look at the crowd behind me, and there were so many signs that said Jungle Land. It's like, this crowd was like, we're not leaving unless you play Jungle Land. And it's a perfect song in every single way, as most of these songs are. I love it. Just thinking about the songs gives me goosebumps. I love it so much. It encompasses everything that Springsteen does well. Paints a picture of sordid people and sordid times, but also has this infectiousness about the music, and The piano and everything about it is just perfect. Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
No doubt. Glad you
Yeah.
have it real high too, because it's up there
Yeah.
for me. All right, Sam, number two.
Number two, y'all both mentioned it, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. And again, it's one of those, if the live version were on this album, it was going to be number one, no question. Because I've watched many videos about this song. When I first discovered the song, I went on binge of looking at the covers of the song, looking at, all the live versions. And it was actually, I did have it listed as number one up until just a couple hours ago. And I was like, well, it's not live. So the energy isn't where it needs to be for that song. And that whole, because before the whole big man verse, as especially Josh and Rich, they do that long jam before that, and then because the audience, they know what the audience is waiting for. They're waiting for the big man to give his solo at that point, and then the crowd goes crazy because he's coming out center stage with Bruce, and Bruce is right there with him, and God bless Clarence Clemens. He's gone way too soon. That's like some of that energy of the band died with Clarence, unfortunately, but they're still top notch. But it's a fantastic song. I love when a band has an autobiographical song, even if there's parts that are true, not true, whatever. This is just fantastic songwriting, and it's one of those, again, like you were mentioning earlier, Josh, they've done it for 22 minutes before, so they can take their time with it. They can build the audience, take them on that journey with them, because Bruce has all the time in the world. He plays 4-hour shows. So, what can you say? It's a killer song. And, y'all both said the lines that I've had written down, so I won't repeat them, but just perfect song, perfect band interplay. And Clarence helped make that one for sure, as he did for, most of the songs he was a part of.
Yeah.
Very
good. My number two is Thunder Road, the opening track. Again, starts off with that harmonica and the piano, inspired by Roy Orbison. He was listening to a lot of Roy in his room at night, and you can see it. It's one of those songs. It's about growing up, making choices, taking chances, not settling, and wanting more out of life. You're not going to settle to be one of the local yokels. You want more. And you want somebody to go along with you. In this case, it's Mary, the girl, about being young and reckless and daring. And the lyrics, I have to get into some of these lyrics, a couple different ones that we haven't mentioned. And I like when he's directing the line to her: you can hide neath the covers and study your pain, make crosses from your lovers, throw roses in the rain, waste your summers praying in vain for a savior to rise from these streets. Oh, I'm no hero that's understood. All the redemption I can offer, girl, is beneath this dirty hood, with a chance to make it good somehow. What else can we do now? And then it's, except roll down the window and let the wind blow back your hair. The night's busting open. These two lanes can take us anywhere. And you feel that you're on that ride with them. And then at the end, one of the best ending line. First of all, the opening line is fantastic with the screen door and all that. But the end line is, Mary, climb in. It's a town full of losers, and I'm pulling out of here to win. And then it goes in, and it just sends you off musically. That's the opening to the album.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be a better opening for the themes and the characters and the message and everything else he's talking about. Perfect song. I can see why it would be number one on anybody's list, but for me, it's a close number two.
So my number one is Thunder Road, obviously the only song left. And to me, I can't hear the song without thinking about the acoustic version, whether it be the version on live 74 to 85, whatever that was, or the version on Unplugged, where it's the one song you did acoustic. I love the song Slow Down. I'll be completely honest with you. I love the fast version. I love Slow Down. I love hearing him sing it almost like a ballad. And when he sings, there were ghosts in the eyes of all the boys who sent away.
Yeah.
They dusty beach road and it's like, you just hear it. It's like, okay, like thinking about that, the ghosts in the eyes of all the boys who sent away. And, in terms of I had girlfriends when I was younger, but I hadn't felt that feeling of true love. And, in hindsight, sometimes it takes people a long time to find love. And, my father found it young, before he went to Vietnam and came back and married my mother, and they're still together today. But for some of us, it takes us to our 30s. Some of us takes us to our 40s. And the thing is that feeling of, I want that feeling. I want feeling of where I have so much faith in the person that I could pull up to her house and be like, hey, this is me. And I am choosing you. And that's what that song always pictured me. Is as someone that he doubts him. There may be some insecurity or some doubts, but he's wrestling with that, and he's pulling up to this girl's house, and Springsteen paints such an eloquent picture of what it feels like to be a young man, with the world against you. And I just love it. It's a masterpiece in every single way. And it definitely sent me down the road of Springsteen. To me, I feel like Springsteen's got 100 songs like this, which just paint pictures of, now I'm in my 48, almost 50. He's got songs I can relate to as an older man. It's just so great that all these years later, certain songs will resonate with me. He just does it. He's a god.
Amazing. All right. Number one for Sam.
I was gonna say that was very well said, Josh. The whole
Thank you.
The whole talk was
fantastic.
Well said. Obviously for me it's the title track, and I didn't, because if anybody that's followed these rankings knows I'm not always one to pick the title track as the number one. It's usually Rich's forte. Actually, quite often it's Rich's forte, and he's got it buried in the middle here.
Number three.
Yeah, so again, for a while I had 10th Avenue freeze out. Even Thunder Road was in the running for number one, like Josh. But again, Born to Run is one of those. I mean, we all know it's everywhere. It's on the radio. It's it's one of the few Bruce Springsteen songs that he does every night. I mean, he's kind of in the same line with Dylan, Neil Young. He's gonna do what he wants to do. He's gonna do the deep cuts. But Born to Run, he's always got it slated in his set list. I mean, even more so than Born in the USA, which he doesn't do that often anymore.
Right.
But Born to Run, it's one of those, I hear it on the radio, and no matter how much I want to make it overplayed in my head, it's one of those songs that's never overplayed. I want to turn it up, especially like Rich mentioned the line earlier where he kind of says, in an everlasting kiss, and then he goes, ha, like that. That's just I'm in the car by myself, I'm gonna go like that when he says that. I mean, yeah. and it's that whole build up with the saxophone, the now down, yeah. And then of course when he does it live, the audience is waiting. He's done it for years now, where he holds that note for a while, and the audience will strum his guitar, and
right.
Yeah.
He'll run around, in the mosh wherever he is, depending on the venue, and then he jumps into the Highways Jammed with Broken Heroes on the Last Chance Power Drive. It's just, again, tons of little snippets, little stories.
Yep.
that make Bruce who he is, and it's one of the ultimate Bruce Springsteen songs. I mean, that's what his autobiography is called. I mean, when he passes from this earth, hopefully it's not for many years, but it'll say, Born to Run, songwriter Bruce Springsteen.
Absolutely.
And I mean, right. It's definitely one of the top 100 songs of all time of anybody. I'm sure for y'all it might be further up in top 50, top 25, whoever you might be, but it's a perfect rock song. I mean, it's perfect, and I have nothing but praise for it. It's just one of those that I turn it up as loud as I can whenever I'm listening to it.
Yeah, I love how we have three different songs here at number one, first of all. And all three of those songs are my favorite three Bruce Springsteen songs of all time. Thunder Road, awesome. Born to Run, and my song, which is Jungle Land. Just an amazing, incredibly, beautifully written masterpiece in every way. I mean, it rocks when it has to. It slows down, gives you that sax when it needs to. The guitars they air it out when they need to, when they're describing certain action. Everything about the piano by Roy Bittan. Oh my God. Every element comes together and it ends the album. It's cinematic. Excuse me. It's like, I always visualize it as a West Side Story type of scene coming to life with these characters, the rat and the barefoot girl. The kids around here live just like shadows, always quiet, holding hands. I like this line here: from the churches to the jails, tonight all is silent in the world as we take our stand, build up down in jungle land. And then it just goes ape shit after that. It's unbelievable. The sax comes in at the right time to give you that little feel. He's talking about some sex here in a bedroom, locked, and whispers of soft refusal, then surrender. And the tunnels uptown, the rat's own dream guns him down. Shots echo down the hallways in the night, and no one watches as the ambulance pulls away, or as the girl shuts out the bedroom light. These are stories that you can visualize. They're absolutely perfect. I don't know how you can string together this many characters in a 6-7 minute song, whatever it is. It might even be longer, but every line's perfect. I don't know what to say. It's just, kids flash guitars just like switchblades. Again, it's got that West Side motif.
Love that line. Yeah.
Hustling for the record machine, the hungry and the hunted. He's using alliteration in that. Explode into rock and roll bands that face off against each other out in the street. Down in jungle land. I mean, it's just amazing. And that's why it's my number one song. Although the other ones you mentioned are right there with it. The whole album is first rate. And I'm so glad that he didn't flub this chance, because it was probably his last chance with Columbia Records. And he took advantage of it and wrote it to just amazing success. Turned him in one of the best rock stars of our era. He's got to be in the top handful of guys. Whether you like him, dislike him, don't like his voice, you have to respect what he's done in his life with 20 albums and, on Broadway, and every album he puts out is an event, whether it be acoustic or solo or with the band itself. Tremendous. I can't say enough good things about Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, one last thing I'd love to say about this album is this is a summer album. I really do feel like it feels like a summer nights album where it's hot and it's sticky. And like you said, you're under that sicko sign. We've all been there. Maybe someone, is passing around a beer, you know what I mean? Like that we snuck out of our parents' fridge. It's like it's such a summer album, and when you're young, there's the future, right? The future so exciting. As you get older, it gets terrifying because you're like, I'm getting closer to the end. But when you're young, it's all exciting. It's a whole bunch of firsts. It's like Sam right now, who hasn't heard every single Springsteen song. You've got an entire world ahead of you, so like embrace it, my friend. It's just fantastic. And I want to thank you guys while we're on camera, because this was the most enjoyable video. I absolutely love it.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. We really appreciate you coming on, and we love your input every time, and we hope we can do many more of these in the future. I know we would love to do it every week, but we have to mix it up. So it's always—
that's okay. Anytime you do Petty or Springsteen or
you're in our wheelhouse. Anytime we do Petty and Springsteen, you're the guy we're coming to. You know that. But anyway, I just want to emphasize one more thing about the summer, and you're right. Every song seems to have a line that soft infested summer, and kids are hiding on the beach in a mist. I mean, Mary's dress waving on the porch. That's a summer. The Exxon sign that gives us fair city light. You can see that being in the summer. The rat and the barefoot girl on the hood of the Dodge drinking the beer. All that stuff works, and it all emphasizes what Josh is talking about. So awesome job. You guys did a fantastic job. I love this. Let's do our ranking real quick, and then we'll get out of here. As far as the album itself, Josh, you're up first. 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 5 mediocre, 10 being absolutely perfect.
Oh, it's perfect in every way. I mean, it's unrankable. It's like it smashes the charts, So like, unrankable. It's so great.
find out what Sam has to say. He
Well,
doesn't do-
again, I'm pretty hard nosed with my rankings.
Yeah.
And for those of y'all that don't know, usually if an album's not in my top 10 favorite albums of all time, it's probably not going to get a 10. For this, just because of my unfamiliarity with it, right now I'm giving it an 8.5. But there's room for growth because, again, when this is over, I'm listening to "She's the One" for Josh, and then I'm going to do some digging for some other live cuts from this album. So it's my baseline right now. But it's a fantastic album. It's one that I would recommend anybody that's just getting into Bruce. You know, like, this is the one. You know, here you go. Yeah, there you go.
Listen to "She's the One" and "Meeting Across the River." I think those two can grow on you as songs, both of them. And Jungle Land, like, if you listen to this album over and over again, Jungle Land just encapsulates what Bruce is about. And Backstreets, I mean, every song's great. I'm giving it a 10. Obviously, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. I can't deny it. And even though Night is not at the same level as the other 7 songs, I'm going to rate it like they do in the Olympics, where they throw out the best score and the worst score. Every other song's at 10. So this is that's the way it goes. Anyway, I want to thank Josh again. JC, Flipside Vinyl. We'll list his channel in the description below. I know most of you guys are subbed to him already, but if not, go over and check him out. One of the best channels out there. Everybody knows it. Very informative. The nicest guy you can ever meet. He has great presentation in his videos, and we thank him for coming on with us. Sam St. John, of course, my good friend from Virginia, who is going to be getting together with Glenn KELLAWAY soon and record some more tunes. His contest ends tomorrow, so if you haven't checked it out, please enter Sam's contest. We'll be back next week with a new song ranking of another classic album. So for Josh and Sam, this is Rich. Thank you very much for joining us, and leave some comments below. Take care. Bye.